Hey friends, it's good to be back with you for another episode of The Table, a church planting journey. My name is Trevor, and I'm joined with my friend today.
Hi, I'm Ryan.
It is good to be with you guys again, like I said. It's kind of crazy. We're just like ramping up to it. We're in the middle of January already, and part of me wants to just do house church every night already, and just like do it
Every night, that would be a little bit too much.
Okay, maybe you're right. Okay, but every week, do house
Yeah.
church already and just start meeting. But at the same time, we have so much to do.
Yeah. Yeah, we were just on the phone, little peek behind the curtain,
Yeah.
trying to reserve a ramada at a park for an outreach event in March. And we thought it would be like call them, give them the credit card information, tell them what time we want. But no. It's way more complicated than
Yeah,
that.
we need to provide $3 million in insurance, which we were insured, so
Yeah.
we're good. I'm not too worried about that. But yeah, we had to answer all the questions. Of course, with COVID, things are weird, so we're trying to be conscious of that and make sure everybody's healthy and safe. But they were asking if we handed out things, and we're like, maybe, like. We haven't gotten that far. We're trying to get the reservation first.
Yeah, one thing at a time, right?
Yeah, but yeah, there's still so much to do. But before we get into any of that, like we've kind of been doing, like Ryan said, peek behind the curtain. How's life? Where are you at? What's new with you, Ryan? Where are you at? What's up?
Things have been good. We've been busy this last week. We'll talk a little bit about our come and see event we had on Sunday. But personally, I've been applying to a lot of jobs.
Feel that.
I went and got fingerprinted on Monday because I'm trying to get a sub credential just in case nothing else opens up. I can at least be a substitute teacher for a season. I was telling Trevor earlier today, actually, like something clicked in the like job seeker websites to where now I'm getting a bunch of emails of people telling me, "Oh, you should apply for this job," and I'm like, "This job that sounds like nothing I want to do, but sure, I'll apply for it."
Yeah. Yeah.
In fact, I went on an interview yesterday, and they're like, "So why did you apply for this?" And I was like, "Honestly, the website said I should apply for it." that was it. That was the whole thing.
Yeah.
What about you, man?
It's been nice to kind of been taking a little bit of time off, not having to stress too much. I've got to play Cyberpunk 2077. It's a new video game that came out I really wanted, and I have a toddler, and I had a job, so I didn't have any time. And now I have a toddler who goes to preschool and no job, so I've been able to play some video games, which has been great. But yeah, it's been great. I think Saturday night was like it hit me like we're church, we're real. So Saturday night, Ryan, he set up this awesome Google Voice phone number that we now have. So you can call us, and we get phone calls now to our devices through this new number if that's the church's. Well, late evening on Saturday, Ryan, we both got the call, and I didn't answer because my wife and I were watching our come and see video that I had edited earlier that day. Well, Ryan answers, and this guy, he calls and asks for help. He said he Googled churches. He was at the Quick Trip and Googled churches, and we were right there because the Quick Trip's just on the other side of the road from my house. And Ryan talks with him, prays for him, calls me and says, "Hey, there's a guy here at the QT looking for some food. He's hungry, kind of hasn't eaten."
I was on the other side of town.
Yeah, he was super far away. It didn't make sense for him to take care of it because he was like 30 miles away. So me being less than a mile, I said, "Yeah, give me his number." So we connected. I got to go. I bought him a hot dog and just listened to him, and I got to pray for him. It like hit me. I did this all the time when I worked at my previous church. We had plenty of homeless people come and ask for help and food and prayer, and I had a week off and boom, right back into it.
Yeah.
And it was awesome to, hey, we are like, the table is a legit church. Like, we're legit pastors. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about this. We're doing it.
Yeah.
And even the smallest things, it was super encouraging. But yeah, I've been the same job search as you. I just got information back from the city of Gilbert. They're moving me forward in the application 2 months later. So I've been sitting there kind of twiddling my thumbs. I passed all their tests and got all the things through, and then nothing. Like,
Yeah.
we'll call you. I said, cool. Like, in the email, it says, don't contact us. Like, we'll call you. And so I didn't call them. I didn't contact them because I'm just trying to figure it out. And finally, in the process.
It's like that, like, you know, that first date.
Yeah.
Like, you want to, like, call the next day, but you know, you got to play cool.
You got to play cool. Exactly. That's how it feels. And man, that didn't feel cool. But 2-3 months later now, I'm moving on. I'm submitting my info this week, and hopefully next week I can start the backgrounding process for City of Gilbert. So get a job.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk a minute real quick. Like,
Yeah.
you're trying to be a police emergency dispatcher.
Yes.
That's intense, man.
It is. Well, the way I kind of thought about it, so I looked into jobs and like what paid decent, what gave us benefits, and pension. These kind of. I'm thinking long term, like when I'm 65, you know.
Yeah.
Am I going to be able to retire?
Yeah.
And so I looked at. Well, and the big thing around all of this came our student loans. Rochelle and I have quite a bit of debt from our student loans. We applied for the loan forgiveness program, which means you have to work in nonprofit or government for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm currently 3 years into my tenure for that. Well, if I stop and I get a real job outside of that in the for-profit world, I lose all of that.
Yeah.
So I just started applying for government jobs. I saw the dispatch for police dispatcher, and I just kind of read through it, and it felt like a pastor on the phone. Obviously, it's a whole lot more intense, you know, but like being able to hear people in the midst of their crisis, to help them get the information and send people to respond. Because if we're honest, I don't think I could be a real cop. Yeah. Like, I don't have what takes it in me. I'm kind of a pacifist at the end of the day. So, like, I don't think I could be a cop. You know, kudos to those people who can. But I thought, what a better way to help people in the city, you know, than to be on the line with them in the midst of their crisis, to help provide peace. And, you know, I'm sure... You know, ask me in 6 months if I get this job, you know, where I'm at mentally with this. But
so you got a therapist yet? Like...
Yeah, I do. He's on retainer. He's good. But no, I just thought it's a great way to continue. Like my call is to, I believe one of my callings is to help people, is to be the light in their life, you know, to show Christ through my actions. And what a better way to do that than to literally every single day deal with people in crisis. And, you know, you're going to get the older lady who calls, my cat's in the tree. Yeah. Like, all right, Mrs., you know.
Yeah, you'll probably, I was thinking to that, I'm sure 90% of it is just going to be kind of, you know, I locked my keys in my house, or
who knows?
My family went on vacation. My son's home alone.
Can you send a police officer to check on him? Yeah, I have no idea. Some of the stuff that they put us through has been pretty intense so far. You know, to prepare you mentally for the worst of the worst. I mean, you can imagine what I'm talking about. But I talked with my wife a lot about this. It's 4 days a week, 10 hours a day, which sounds like a lot, but she does that. It can be days, it can be nights. It actually switches every 6 months what I'll be doing until I have the seniority to choose. But like having the 3 days off, you know, having the ability to still be a dad, to still invest into the table. When I actually interviewed, they asked me, so like, what is this table thing you're doing? So it's a church plant. Like, I'm going into it, we're planting a church. They said, how can you plant a church and have a job? I said, well, how can you have a job and have a hobby, right? And I kind of explained to them in this idea of like, we all do things outside of our jobs, right? I said, the table, yes, is my life, my job, it's my hobby. It's what I want to do. So I don't see why I couldn't, especially if I have 3 full 24-hour days to sleep and do the table. No eating in those 3 days.
I've actually been asked that question a lot too, about like, well, how are you going to work and do this? And I'm like, people don't think twice. Like I worked full time and like went to like grad school,
right? And
that wasn't a big deal. Nobody ever asked me like, how am I going to do that?
Yeah. It's almost expected now.
Yeah,
right?
like
for millennials and Gen Z to like have a job or two, go to college, and entertain the social life.
Like I couldn't tell you the last time I literally just like sat on my sofa and just like watched a movie without being on my phone or like my computer and doing something else. Like, so it's just how my brain works these days.
Yeah, for better or worse, but I feel it. So this idea of, you know, how can we do multiple things, kind of in this vein of our calling, right? We both are in this mindset of we almost have to work in other vocations while doing the table. Why have we decided that, or at least in your opinion, Ryan?
Well, for me, it's kind of been a something that I've been convicted of. I feel like it's a built-in mission field
Yeah.
where, um, if you and I come from more of a traditional full-time pastor positions, where we go to the office and we, work in our office and we make phone calls and maybe we'll go have lunch with somebody or have coffee with somebody a couple times a week. But for the most part, you and I, we have to make an appointment
Yeah.
to go meet non-Christians.
Mm-hmm.
You play hockey, I play rugby, and right now, like, rugby is my mission field.
Yeah.
We have a guy on my rugby team who's not a Christian who's like volunteering to help with the table, which is like amazing. Like, it's one of those things I wouldn't have even thought to ask.
Right.
And so work is just another opportunity for that, for you to get to know somebody,
Yep.
disciple them, tell them about Jesus, invite them to the church. So yeah, that's for me. Like, I was telling somebody recently, it's come to the point where I feel like I'm being disobedient if I don't do that.
Yeah, I
So
feel that. This idea of where we are missionaries in East Mesa,
mhm.
and we have to do that in all things. When I was interviewing, one of the questions they asked me is, why this job? And I said, well, I know that there's this already tight-knit community within law enforcement, between
Yeah.
police officers and dispatch. It's all kind of in the same vein of like they are family.
Yeah.
And like Ryan said, my hockey team is like that. We're a bunch of bros that hang out and we slug it out and we skate real hard, or at least we think we skate real hard on the weekends. But if I, move into this dispatching position full time, even part time in the future, I'm not quite sure, but to be able to find this community of people that I can rely and trust on, be completely honest and vulnerable with, and not just like, hey, how's your day? Fine. But the fact that like we get to see some of the nitty gritty, the things that we all get to go through and share, and really move into this, idea of like who we really are,
Mhm.
and not just this surface level, we're good, like it's fine. Like, no, it's fine to say, this has been a really sucky week. Me and my wife are, fighting or whatever, and kind of breaking that down and hearing an outsider's opinion on, I'm probably wrong, so I should humble myself and get over it,
Yeah. So it's been an issue for me as far as finding work. As I was telling Trevor not that long ago, like, for me, it's not a matter of just like finding a job. Like, I need to find a job that like pays enough. I think I may have mentioned this last time, but like, our son has special needs, so it's really hard for my wife to work, just with a lot of the scheduling, and so it's really, we're a one income household, so it's difficult for us. And then also, something that I want to do, something that I think will like, help me. I want a career.
Yeah.
Help me build up into something, some other position. So, and also actually, a lot of people have been telling me, like, I've done a couple interviews and like, well, why are you trying to, switch careers in some sense? And for them, it's hard for them to wrap their brain around the fact that you can be a pastor and have another job at the same time. But I just told them, I just think paid full-time ministry is just becoming harder and harder to find.
Yeah.
And basically, I was like, I don't want to be, left, when I'm 52 years old. The only experience I have is in working for churches. And
which in itself, there's a lot of things that you do in churches that
like kind of trying to find another job.
Yeah, exactly. And trying to, work out those last 10, 15 years of your life without any other experience. I totally get that.
Yeah.
I'm talking with another pastor friend of mine, Will Hathaway. He had said to me, literally within the first year of working at the same church as him, he's like, if you can find another job that'll pay your bills, it'll give you the freedom to do the ministry you want to do and that God has called you to do.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand that at first. I'm like, Will, you're crazy. So Will is a full-time police officer.
Yeah, he's pretty hardcore.
Yeah, he works all day, the grind, not even a 9 to 5. He does like the swing shifts, the night shifts, all the things. He teaches CrossFit. He lives in Maricopa, so he commutes 30 minutes one way. And then he tells me, hey, Trevor, I know you just got hired full-time to be a pastor, and like this is your job now, but you should go look for another job so that you're free. And I didn't understand it at first, but as we're transitioning and moving into this, I totally get it. When your income isn't something that you have to worry about, then it gives you the freedom to, I can invest my money and my time into the ministry here. I can do this, and I don't have to worry about we've said it multiple times, trying new things that are scary because we don't have the finances to do it. When my money isn't dictated by the church, I can do more for the church. Even if my time might be limited. But so, getting all through that, now let's think back. 2020, late 2019. How did you, Ryan, get to where you are now? Like, where did this plant start? With prayer? Was it just a vision that came to your mind?
Oh yeah. So it's kind of the what's next. So we've talked a little bit about kind of our journey up until this point. Feeling called. We talked a little bit about assessment, doing an assessment, which we think everybody should do.
Yes.
But when we talked about picking our name. But yeah, I think even before the name comes, I think this idea of whether or not I feel actually whether or not this is an actual calling on my life, or maybe this is something I want to do right now. And so for me, I think first of all, I think that God places calls on our lives. A lot of times, I've lived in Arizona 4 times. This is my 4th time living in Arizona.
Yeah.
And I remember after the last time I moved, I said to myself, I will never live in Arizona ever again. It's hot.
Yeah.
The summers are not fun. But I remember when God called us back, I knew it was a God thing because I wanted to move back to Arizona.
Yeah.
Whereas as before that, I was like, no way, I'm never going back there. At this point, where I really feel like after I kind of felt like God was calling me to plant a church. I was thinking about it, praying about it, talking with my wife about it, kind of thinking about the possibilities. Where I think I really realized that this is what God had placed on my heart was I was more excited about the potential of the table, of what would eventually become the table, than I was worried about how I was going to make money. And that was kind of where I was like, okay, this is what God wants me to do.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, it kind of small story here. I had mentioned to our district superintendent, Doug, hey, I just would like to know what church planting is like. I'm not sure if this is what we're planning to do yet, but it's just kind of something at the beginning of 2019 that my wife and I were thinking about. We didn't know anything of what it was or what it looked like. And 2 weeks later, something like that, a lady in my church comes, and at this point we're pregnant with Carson, and he's due in April. And so she comes to us and is like, I am so excited for you guys, but so sad to see you go. And I'm like, yeah, no, I know, it's crazy. I can't believe, after all this time, it's finally here, right? And she just kept going on about me leaving, and I'm like, well, yeah, I'll be gone for 3 weeks, and I'll be back. And she's like, wait, you're not planting a church? I was like, what? What do you mean planting a church? Where? She's like, at Tukey, there's this big rumor you're planting a church. I said, no, we're having a baby. I can't plant a church and have a baby. That's the same thing, right? Having a baby. And so from there, just kind of grew into this craziness that, God continued to reinforce into my wife and I's heart. I have something so much greater for you. With Ryan, I didn't have this anxiety of, at the time, I didn't have this anxiety of where my income was at. I might feel a little bit different today, but I couldn't not do it. In fact, it started to direct and push every aspect of my life, and what we acquired and why we did things was for ministry and for the table. And if I'm honest, I got bold after that, like affirmation of calling it through prayer and just diligent moments. My wife and I would lay in bed and I would just talk until like 1 a.m. And she's like, I love these moments. And then at 4 a.m. she'd like wake me up and be like, I can't believe you kept me up so late. I have to go to the gym now. Like, it's your fault. You're waking up this early.
Yeah.
But
Rochelle, it's America. You don't have to wake up.
You do not have to do that, I swear. But there's just it got to the point where I couldn't do anything else.
Yeah.
And I think that's always been the path of my life. Like, I was called to ministry when I was 16, the cliche camp story, but I couldn't think about doing anything else. It didn't matter. I didn't want to go into business. I didn't want to go into automotive. I didn't want to go be a pro athlete anymore. I wanted to be a pastor,
That would have been really cool, though.
Would have. Can you imagine? I mean, I'm like 5'9" and 230, so I'd be like, what, a fullback? Dude, are fullbacks still a thing in football?
Kind of. I mean, it comes to, I think with all things like ministry, like, I think that's probably one of the best advice I've ever been given and given out myself is it has to be something to where, like, you can't think of anything else you would rather be doing. Like, you would feel disloyal if you were, or unfaithful if you're doing something else.
Well, I think that comes around to why we're getting vocational jobs elsewhere. We feel.
All right. Sorry, guys. I had to plug in my computer. It was dying. So we were talking about that's the sense of calling and the sense of kind of mission and vision. Both of us brought up prayer, which I think is key.
The foundation.
Yeah.
For sure.
Everything has to start with prayer. Yeah. One of the things that we've been doing recently, we've been doing prayer walks around our neighborhoods and kind of asking God for ways for us to, meet people in our neighborhoods and show them the love of Jesus.
Well, it's unique that, some of it I think is divine inspiration. God is, putting thoughts into our head as we pray. But when you actively take a minute to focus on the task at hand and center yourself in Christ, like things that you never would have thought of when you drive around your neighborhood begin to pop in your head.
Yeah.
Like we just did the prayer walk a couple weeks ago, and my wife is like, what if we worked with the HOA? The thing that everyone hates, the thing that like everyone's like the worst enemy is the HOA. What if we worked with them to do things? Because our HOA does interesting things. Every Easter we do the Easter egg hunt. We do movies on the lawn. Even though they put in 11 new speed bumps in my neighborhood for who knows what reason, they do good things. And so what if we partnered with the HOA who already does things and just help sponsor the event or be a part of it or assist in running it?
HOAs are like the whipping boys. So like it's like if you can't complain about anything else in your life, you can always complain about
your HOA.
HOA. I met somebody. I know we know the same person, but I don't know if she still does. She worked for the HOA, and she told me that. And I was like, "Oh, you're the man.
You're the man. You're the man.
The man." Anyway, this idea of like we're praying, we're asking God. And just spending that time intentionally and saying like, "Hey God, how can you use us? How can we be your people in this neighborhood, in this place?" Prayer is one. One of the requirements that our district is requiring people to do from now on.
We're the beta testers.
Yeah,
Cody.
We grandfathered in is to do a prayer retreat. We didn't do any actual. I didn't do a prayer retreat. Did you do a prayer retreat? Jeff, if you're listening to this.
We did a prayer retreat. Kind of like back in August last year, we kind of all met and we did our core team retreat, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about like the beginning though.
Oh.
Like before we really started kind of taking the steps.
I used to commute like 30, well, my son still goes to the preschool at the church I worked at, so I still commute 30 minutes one way basically. And I spent a lot of time back in late 2019 praying on the road. And my kid was infant in the back asleep. Yeah. And I would turn off the music and I would just sit there and sometimes I would vent and be frustrated about the circumstances that I'm currently in. Other times I would just be praising. And lots of times I'd just sit in silence and be listening for what, is God is, putting in my heart. And it wasn't like I went away like, they're asking us to do, which I think is great. going away, intentional time where
Yeah.
during these moments I'm going to focus on praying for this
Yeah.
this task, this future, this
Yeah.
calling. But I would say probably every day for weeks I was in prayer.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, obviously, we spent time in prayer and spent time asking for counsel. But yeah, we didn't do a specific retreat, neither one of us.
Yeah.
But I would suggest it. I think it would have been. I think it was such a slow burn.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked previously about kind of how we kind of came to the same idea. We really felt God was placing the table on both of our hearts at the same time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was kind of like I don't know for you, but for me, I kind of just fell into it. Like at one point, we're just like, oh, we're playing at church.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I really felt like it ramped up like that. Like God was preparing us, like you said, a slow burn for so long, and then it just happened, and it was like an avalanche of like the latter half of 2020 was just okay. We're in it. We're doing it, and we're here.
Yeah.
Literally, the end of the year, I left my job and I went full time at the table basically.
Mm-hmm.
January 1, which is just 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I'm looking, I literally the first couple of days I kind of sat there almost in shock of like, I've had so much prep in this, but at the same time, I feel like I've had none because this should be something that we do for years leading up to it, that we should really grow and establish this whole model, when really it was like, God put it on our hearts and said, no, this has got to happen now. And what's funny is our district leadership was pushing us to launch even earlier.
Yeah.
Literally a month from now,
Yeah.
we were supposed to launch originally.
Yeah.
And they were telling us, again, Jeff, Doug, we love you guys. But this idea of no, you should really launch because this is, in our world today, this is what we need.
Yeah.
And they're not wrong.
Yeah.
If I wish that we would have had more, that we would have started this earlier or had more time in our, because we're vocational full-time elsewhere.
Yeah.
But even if we were to go part-time all of 2020,
I
think we could have launched in February.
Yeah.
But, I think that our new launch date in August is really, really something that we're able to accomplish, as we've set forth, very intentional mission, visions, and values that I think if we would have rushed this, we wouldn't have what we have today. So, talking on those, tell me can you do it off the top of your mind, or are we both going to the website?
Dude, we should be able to say the mission, vision, and values off the top of our head. I can't. That's actually a goal of mine, is to be able to say, at least do the mission statement off the top of my head. And at least list the 4 values that we have.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we kind of were like, all right, so we're playing church. What next? So we came to this idea, right? Well, I think we probably already had the idea of house churches. We kind of knew that was what we wanted to do.
Yeah.
And then we're like, okay, well, what did churches do? And we're kind of like, neither one of us had done this before, and so I'm like, oh, we need to have a mission statement. We need to have a vision statement. We need to have values.
Yep.
And we worked on those for a while. I think we started the mission, vision, values the end of 2019.
Yeah.
And it probably took us 4 months before we really finalized them.
I would say probably May, in the summer of 2020 is when we really settled on our, this is where we're going. I think it was our 3rd or 4th core team meeting that we had met together. We'd shared it. Well, no, so it wasn't May. It had to be March. Yeah, because we were in person. It was the last in-person thing that we did was finalizing these.
The last in-person thing we did was in February.
Okay, dang.
So
maybe we finalized.
I think it maybe took another meeting or two, but yeah. So we, our mission statement. You have it up on your screen.
Yeah. Our mission as the table is that we plan to gather at the table as a community of Christ to serve and love one another. Or it's to serve and love together. See, I'm reading off the screen and I can't even get it right. Yeah,
so in that one sentence, I feel like we got a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
We can break it all down, but basically we wanted to be very clear of who we are and what we wanted, what we're about.
Yeah.
And so we had this idea of gathering, of coming together.
Yeah. always being centralized around the table in so many different facets, whether it's a physical table, a communion table, the table within our hearts.
Yeah.
We just keep
and this idea, the sense of community, that's something that we've talked about a lot, being Christ-centered, and then this idea of serving others and this idea, this intimacy of love together. So I mean, how long do you think we said it took us a couple months, but like, I mean, it took us a few drafts to get to there.
Well, we definitely came up with a first draft of everything.
Yeah.
And we changed some words and we changed emphases. Emphases. Well, because I think initially in this one we had changed something to gather because we thought that gather was a more important word than just like, I think it's coming together at the table, and we changed it.
Yeah.
This idea of that we all come, but we gather.
Yeah.
And again, all of these are kind of multifaceted, and it's not just one word means one thing here.
It's a short, but it's a dense concept. So I would say, like, if you're looking to establish a mission statement for your church plant, I would say, like, I mean, by all means, go through several different iterations of it before you make a decision. The wording matters. Like, think about, like, originally, we probably had said coming together or something like, well, that's kind of wordy. What can we do that's like a little bit shorter? So we did gathering. And then also just make it very clear that this is what your church plant is about. Like I said, I want to have the mission statement memorized. I'm not very good at memorizing stuff. Like, I'm horrible. Like, when you had, like, did you ever do, like, you had to memorize the Bible verses as a kid?
Dude, I got trophies.
Oh, man.
Trophies at home to show those also.
I was horrible at those things. Like, I'm just not very good at it. But it's just like, it's something that I want us to keep in front of our people at all time. This is who we are. This is what we're about. And then the vision statement is kind of like, all right, here's where we're going. And so I'll read that one. It says our vision statement is a house church network focused on following Jesus, living in the community, and loving people, discovering new ways to minister in the modern culture while continually growing house churches. So once again, there's just a lot of stuff in those two sentences. We want to be focused on following Jesus, a sense of community, a sense of love, and then we kind of added in something, discovering new ways to minister. Why do you think I know why, but why did we add that?
We talked about this idea. I think Ryan and I are both called to innovate.
Mm-hmm.
When we talked with our core team about our mission, vision, and values, we had mentioned how our big tech companies in the world, Google, Apple, Amazon, they're wealthy, massive companies, but they don't innovate. Mm-hmm. They buy innovation.
Yeah.
And so you have these small startups around the world that create this awesome product. I mean, literally Instagram, right?
Yeah.
Was this small app, share pictures of yourself, and then it was acquired for like $1 billion.
They paid like $3 or $4 billion.
It's
probably worth like $50 billion at this point. So.
It's so crazy with how something so small.
Yeah.
It was an innovative idea. I mean, think about. Do you ever think back to 2010 through like 13 when the iPhone was like just starting to gain popularity, and the coolest apps were the Zippo lighter and the gun app.
I don't think I had an iPhone then.
So I got my first iPhone around that time, and everybody, and like, you paid for these apps. It was a lighter, a Zippo lighter, and you flipped it up and you turned the fire on, and it was like 99 cents. I did not buy it, but my friends did, and they're like, bro, trust me, you can feel the heat. I said, okay. They turn it on, you put your hand over the screen, you're like, I think I can feel it. So, like, something as small as that, so stupid and silly, to then Instagram, which was like 2012, 2013, to now being like one of the biggest apps on the platform. So when we, back to the vision.
So much to the point that like the federal government is suing Facebook because they think they're too big and they want them to like break off.
Apart, right? Yeah. Sell off. You guys want to buy Instagram with me, or just donate to Disabled? I'm just kidding. But this idea of when we discover new ways to minister. Mm-hmm. So again, we have said this in the past. We'll reiterate it again now. Ryan and I do not hate the church. We are not mad at the church. Yeah. We love the church. But like I had said earlier, we find it difficult. I've even found it difficult in the last couple of years to do new things in ministry because of my income or because of my my budget that I had or because I didn't have the time. And so what if this new church, that's all they did was try new things. And, at the core of our model is church. Yeah. We meet, we worship, we fellowship, we share the word. So at the core, it's still the same. It's not like if you came to the table, it would be radically different than if you went to your home church. But
your traditional.
Sorry, traditional. Yes, make the church. But then we get to try new things like the fifth Sundays, right? Yeah. Where on the fifth Sunday, 4 or 5 times a year, we go out and we serve our community rather than just having another church service that serves the community within. Yeah. And I even think I was just reading a post on Facebook, this idea of, church is scary to people. So when they come in the doors, don't make fun of the way they look or don't, comment on appearance or whatever. Just love them. And it's like, that coming in the church doors is really intimidating. But coming to my house for a meal, again, it's not crazy innovative and new, but it's still not coming to the big glass double doors with the stained glass in the back, or maybe 1970s wood paneling. Oh, a lot of churches here have that.
Why you gotta put me on blast?
I'm sorry. Tempe covered it up with black paper, so I feel it.
Yeah, so it's this idea of let's try something new, and once again we've talked about it before, but thinking outside of this idea of not having a building. Mm-hmm. Instead of it being something that's it's a liability, it's more of an asset. In that, we don't have a building. Trust me, you guys, I've been in churches, I've been in like mobile churches where we had to like set up every Sunday, and there's parts of that that's really cool. A lot of it's just kind of a pain in the butt. But there's also like something cool in the fact that like, all right, well, we don't have a physical location, so what can we do differently? It makes you think differently. Yeah, it does. It makes you, instead of thinking of how do we get people here, it's how do we go to them. Mm-hmm. And so that's part of the idea, is that we want to really focus on trying new things, reaching out to the community. And then at the very end of our vision statement, we put continually growing house churches. Part of our vision is that, once again, with no building is being an asset, in that if a house church gets too big, then guess what? You have 2 house churches. Yeah, you multiply. Yeah, and then if one of those gets too big, then you have 3 house churches or 4. It's this idea that you can continually grow without having to worry about, do we have the space? Yep. Do we need to do a building campaign? Well, and so often you find these churches, they set their goal to how many people they can host. And so churches that build a building for 250 people when they're only 100 big, man, we're going to hit that 250. Once they hit that, they cap and they plateau. Yeah. So often we find this in church research. These churches, they only grow as big as their building allows. Yeah. And so unless you're intentionally planning, which there are some really good churches that are forward thinking and, okay, what does 10 years from now look like? Yeah. What does 30 years from now look like? Yeah. So it's not just building a building for now. Yeah. But for the future, and so within the table, not having to even worry about building the building. Yeah. The more I think about it, I get excited. This idea of maybe our goal of 10 house churches is way too small. Like, we might, by the end of this year, knock that out of the park because people catch on, they see the vision, and they go, yep, that's what I want to be a part of. Yeah. Maybe I'm not a preacher, but my home is available. I have a feeling that's going to be, we're not going to have to worry about how many houses we're going to have, but getting leaders to fill those. Yeah, I think that's probably our biggest concern right now, for sure. And then we did our values, which simply put is our four main values are invite, community, discipleship, and innovate.
Yeah.
And we've kind of already talked about most
All
of
of
those.
that,
I think invite is kind of the first one. Like we want to be a place where people know they can invite their friends, know they can invite their neighbors. This has been my struggle in youth ministry recently, is that like telling students like, hey, you can invite your friends, you can invite your friends, you can invite your friends, and then they might invite their friends and they might come to like one thing, or they might come, they might come twice. It's just really hard to get that consistency.
Yeah.
And it's just this idea of like, no, you can like, the doors are always open.
Yeah.
And then discipleship. That was the other thing, is that we really wanted to be focused on discipleship in our smaller gatherings.
Yeah.
Give people the opportunity to ask questions, to maybe push back, maybe challenge some things that are being said, and to really, have that freedom.
Seriously.
So.
Well, and I think at the core for me with this discipleship is going to the next point of I am in the church today. I'm a pastor today because my mom discipled me. Every day.
Yeah.
Every day we read scripture and we prayed, and every day it was a part of my life.
Yeah.
And how, I mean, I think about it now. Carson is almost 2, and we just started praying and reading the Bible with him.
Yeah.
And of course, I prayed over my son. I would hold my son every night, and I would pray for him and just, enjoy those moments. But I'm behind the ball, I feel like. My kid knows words now. And those words are not Jesus in the Bible. They're Ba, and he thinks he's the Sith Lord. But how can we prepare our families, and not just families, but every person that comes into our doors, to be able to disciple? That it's not just about coming and receiving, but coming, receiving, learning, and then going and giving and just continuing this chain. You said when we hit that number, whatever that is, we split. Yeah. Bad word. We multiply. Yeah. And we just continue to do that because every person is equipped to disciple. Mm-hmm. And it starts small and it takes time. We're not asking for theologians here necessarily. No. But definitely people who are willing to share their life and to love, every person who walks through the doors the same way that Jesus loves us. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of where we're at. So, by all means, you can steal those. I don't care. If you do, let us know. We'll just like to know and just say, encourage you for sure. But I think that one of the things that, once we've done that, we've decided mission, vision, values. Our timetable has kind of moved all over the place, and so originally we were gonna plant. I think originally we thought about maybe when we first met, we were gonna plant the middle of last year. Yeah. And then we were like, oh, that's a little bit too soon, and then we pushed it back to February, and then we're like, oh, COVID happened. Now we're gonna push it back to August, and every time I've kind of been bummed out because I'm really excited about what we're doing, and I think God's gonna use it, but I think every time God has really used that to kind of teach and show us hey, they're we just had to go sign papers today, and we're asking questions and stuff like that, just things that you just don't think about when you're oh, I'm going to start a church. It's well, are you legal? Yeah. How are people going to give? How are you going to? There's just a bunch of questions that we haven't thought about. Yeah. Kind of renting the Ramada at the park. Yeah. But yeah, so and by all means, we're totally just making this stuff up as we go. Yeah. I've never planted a church before, so that's one of the reasons we want to do this. So for us, after we kind of did that, and we kind of did the mission, vision, values first between the two of us, and then we had a core team. So it's Trevor and his wife Rochelle, me and my wife Megan, and then we have 3 other couples and their kids. Yep. And so we kind of took those, kind of the first draft, and said, hey, what do you guys think about this? And then we wanted to give them ownership of it and say, hey, this is what we came up with, and we want your input. And so they helped us kind of really, really finalize that stuff. And then since then, it's kind of been all right, well, what do we need to do now? What do we need, and what we'll talk about some other time. And so we've already talked about our name. Um, we'll talk again. We'll talk some other time about our ministry plan, which is this like, I don't know, 35-page document.
16 double-sided. So
yeah,
it's crazy.
That we came up with like timetables and our goals and plans and budgets. That took months. Yeah.
And kudos to Ryan. He really kind of shaped all of that. Of course, we were doing a lot of talking. You know, we were going back and forth on it, but I mean, you really put that on paper for us, and it's incredibly useful because now we have this resource, this ministry plan resource that we're able to open it up and just go through. Okay, this is what we've planned. Of course, you're not going to hit all your goals.
Yeah,
you're not going to hit all your deadlines.
Yeah,
and so being able to here it is. On paper for us, but I can also be flexible.
Yeah,
we can go through that, next time and kind of break open what.
Yeah, and there's also just like so many. I mean, once again, we'll go through that, but like a lot of it's just like outside of our control.
Yeah, COVID. There's a whole thing that is outside of our control that we've had to adapt and change.
I mean, that's for like the world. The thing that I was thinking about specifically is like we had in our ministry plan is we were going to go to churches and we were going to present our vision and we were going to ask people to give and to join and. That just hasn't happened.
Not yet.
Partly because of COVID. Yeah. But also just it requires people to return emails and phone calls.
Yeah. Yep.
Busy pastors who are already busy, who are already doing other things.
Especially in the middle of Advent. And then when the email they get comes from your wife's maiden name, they just kind of ignore it. We're sorry. If you're listening to this, pastors, we love you. We'll resend that email shortly.
All right. We're going to be, this is definitely going to be our longest episode, but we got a couple other things. I do want to hit on what we did this last Sunday night. Yeah. You want to kind of walk people through what we did?
We crushed it, I feel like. Well, I mean, first, before we describe, I just want you to tell them how you think it went.
I think it went as well as it could have gone.
I agree.
We had a little bit of technical difficulties at the very beginning.
Yeah.
But once we got that figured out, it went pretty good.
Sailing. Yeah, so we had our first Come and See event, which again, some of the things out of our control was this Come and See event because COVID and with being the number one. I mean, hey, Arizona, we're number one right now. Yeah. Of course, it's in COVID cases, so maybe it's not something to celebrate. But we originally designed this Come and See event to be a thing where people can literally come and see what the table is. They can get a little taste of what church will look like, and then have a Q&A with the leadership, myself and Ryan and our core team. Well. We had to go digital. Yeah. And so Ryan and I started and we designed this whole Come and See event online where we had like a hyper cut of our dinner segment. I didn't know this till Ryan told me last week. Yeah. Apparently you're not supposed to film people while they're eating, which makes sense. It's not very... So you don't want to, again, we're sorry. But you don't want to film people while they're eating. It's not flattering. I learned that. But we went from our dinner segment to worship, which Joel, one of our worship leaders, he had filmed some segments for an earlier online worship in 2020. Mm-hmm. We got to utilize that. We just played one, even though worship sets can vary in length during house church. Then we preached. I brought a little sermon that I had wrote that week about faith and kind of the faith of a mustard seed. Kept it short because in the table we're planning to keep our messages shorter than 20 minutes, so that we can have intentional discussion. And we did this all live streaming. And like Ryan said, we had some technical difficulties. Yeah. We both are like master streamers for our churches that we've built and designed these whole crazy things. Well, apparently, I've never streamed to Facebook directly. Yeah. Apparently, you have to turn your streaming device. We use OBS. And then you have to go live on Facebook. You have to press a button. Well, I went live on OBS. We did the whole thing, the intro. Yeah. And my wife hey, there's nothing on the screen. Are you going to start it yet? And we're like 6 minutes into 6.
Yeah.
So I clicked live, boom, it came up. And I think it went pretty flawless. But then we spent 30, 40 minutes in a Q&A session that far, superseded, what's the word? Exceeded, there you go. Far exceeded my expectations. We actually asked our team, hey, if no one's asking questions, can you... Yeah, the event far exceeded our expectations. At one point, I think we had over 30 people on live, which for churches out there, we've kind of looked at how do you market your numbers? Do you just do the numbers? Well, what if 2 people are watching one stream? You
Yeah.
know? So you kind of do like a 1 point times by 1.4 or times 2.4 or something like that. I don't remember. But we estimated that we had like 50 or so people live. I know my wife was upstairs with her mother and father up there watching with Carson. So that's 4, right?
Yeah.
For one stream. I'm just kidding. We don't count the babies. Maybe we do. But yeah, we went into this Q&A and just the team had just, we didn't even have to necessarily rely on the team because so many people are asking great questions from, something as simple as, what if no one plays music at a church?
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're right. Worship is more than just a song, right? Yeah. It's so much bigger. And, what if this church has lots of children, or what if my church has no children?
Yeah.
Just all over, just great stuff. The Come and See event. I mean,
go watch it. You guys can watch it.
Seriously,
it's on our website.
Yep.
thetablenaz.church/CAS.
That's right. Come and see. We'll link that down below as well. But thetablenaz.church/CAS. We did a giveaway, which shout out to Cody for that idea.
Yeah.
But it was great to toss this hey, we got this new thing called Text in Church. Yeah. Text this number and reply yum gift, and you get entered into a gift card. And then we asked them to reply yum in the chat. Nobody did.
I did see later on that people were texting back yum. Oh. I wasn't seeing that as
in
we were
the chat, but they were saying it to the text. I didn't know that. Okay.
We didn't put it. We didn't clarify
where to put it
in the Facebook chat. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was great because we got people's contact information.
Yeah.
People were engaged. I mean, it really felt like a solid event. Honestly, not even as good. It was the best event that we could have had in the middle of COVID. And what I love about this now is this is forever on the internet for people to see. Mm-hmm. And so when people are asking, "What's the table? What is it like?" Well, this is it. It's an event that is church in my home. You are invited. If you're looking to plant and thinking about ways to get your idea, your model, it might not be a bad idea to one of your services record the whole thing, put it on the internet for people to see whether you launched or not. Yeah. So that when people are asking all these questions, maybe you don't have the time, or they just you talk to those people. Yeah. You tell them, and then they don't get it, so you tell them a different way, and they still don't get it. You tell them a third way, and you say, "Just go look at the website. Yeah. Go read here. Go. You can send this video for people to. Mm-hmm. And it's an hour, but the Come and See is only 15 minutes. Before the Q&A.
Less than that. I was like 13.
Yeah,
minutes
so you could go and you spend 13 minutes. You can watch through the whole Come and See without the live Q&A after, and if they have questions, they can read through. Maybe we should do thinking for future. Should go back and transcribe all this Q&A and post those somewhere.
That sounds like a lot of work.
It does. If anybody would like to join the table and be our scribe, we're looking.
Yeah, no, that's. I think it was, like I said, it far exceeded my expectations. Once again, Cody gave some great advice. Yep. Expect 2 people to show up.
Yep.
And so that way, if more than that, you'll be excited.
Yeah.
But I thought it was a great way just to share the vision, get the word out. We posted videos advertising it beforehand on Facebook. We actually advertised the event on Facebook.
How much did we spend on that?
I think we spent, for the whole event, with the giveaways and the advertising, it was $150.
Not bad.
Which, I
think on our outreach, we spent, $50 on gift cards and $100 on ads.
Yeah.
We had 5,000 people saw it. We had 3,000-4,000 people had seen the event itself, not even the other posts, but the event itself. And so the reach is really there. What I'm learning with some of these ads is how you can do some big things. In fact, we'll talk about some of our ideas and things that we're borrowing from other churches on that, Facebook ads and whatnot.
Well, I did a class on marketing when I was in college, and the statistic back then, and I feel like it's more now because I've heard it you're indirectly you encounter 8,000 pieces of advertising a day.
Wow.
It's crazy, but I think they said that so back in mid 2000s when I did this class, I think they said that people have to encounter your brand a minimum of 13 to 15 times before they'll choose to engage it.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of people who saw our ad who didn't interact with it or didn't do anything about it. But the goal is that like we're kind of building up that audience
Yeah.
of, maybe they didn't see it maybe they didn't do anything this time, but maybe next time they'll see and they're like, hey, I've seen this goofy looking guy in my Facebook feed for the last couple of weeks. Like let's hear what he has to say.
Yep.
And I was talking about you, not me.
I'm very good.
So it's this idea of kind of building slowly. Like, yeah, we're brand new. We're not very many people know what we're doing. So we're just slowly kind of exposing people to like, hey, this is what the table is. This is how you can get involved. And then I think another key event. So if you want to do something like this, is we gave them hard first steps. Like, all right, next steps. I mean, so like, all right, so if you're watching this and if this sounds like something you're interested in, we want you to join our Facebook group, our launch team group, and then we're going to have a launch team meeting on the 31st. And so give them something that they can they know that they can do. Like, hey, these are the expectations of what I'm going to be doing the next time.
Yep. Well, that's where we kind of are moving into these ideas of what are our next steps. We've been kind of diligent in preparing through now till August, and pretty much every Sunday until our launch day in mid-August, we have an event planned. We've got something planned, whether it's a core team meeting, a prayer walk, something.
Yeah.
And like Ryan said, every last Sunday of the month will be our launch team meetings. And so when we promoted this idea of, hey, join the team, your commitment up to this point is joining us once a month.
Yeah.
It's easy, it's tangible. So we sent that out there for people. I think we had 6 or 9 people join the group that night. There's quite a few people joined the group to be a part of the team. We're making it easy. It's on Facebook Rooms.
Yeah.
And so all you have to do is have a Facebook account. You log in. It's like Zoom but free.
Yeah.
And so you jump in.
It's almost like Zoom.
It's not Zoom.
My biggest complaint is that like I can't mute people.
You can't mute people. You can't send messages to everyone. You individually message people. Yeah, we've definitely found some quirks in it, but it's a free alternative.
It's getting better.
It is.
I would say it's getting better.
Well, within COVID, they've had to.
Yeah,
it's kind of a new thing. But one of the things we're excited for, it's just simple outreach, is this next one for this Sunday. So if you're listening to this after January 14th or 15th, this was in the past. But this Sunday, we are doing like one of our first outreach events, get to know us events, where we went online. We purchased door hangers, and something as simple as we're going to take our core team and we're going to gather together, walk and pray around our neighborhood, hang up the door hangers. In fact, I really liked how one of our members said it. It's a walk and talk.
Yeah.
Like kind of funny, we're just going to hang door hangers, but Beth had said, we can't make the walk and talk. They've got some prior engagements that they won't be able to join us, but when we encounter people in our neighborhood and we're hanging these things, and we're not just soliciting random people, but hey, I'm Trevor. What's your name? What do you do? Where do you live? We live around the corner. We just want to let you know that we're here for you. We love you. Happy New Year. Hopefully you're staying healthy and safe.
Yeah. And
just expand the reach, like in the book that we're reading right now, The Art of Neighboring. Of, do you know the names of the 9 houses around you? If I'm honest, I know one to my right and my left. The neighbor right in front of me, I see him all the time. I wave at him, but I don't know his name. I'm failing at that. But,
that's one of those things like it's designed to shame you, but at the same time, like not to like shame you in that like, oh man, I'm a horrible person, but like, hey, maybe you should go introduce yourself.
Should do more.
You're lucky because you don't have any neighbors behind you, so
true.
You have Walgreens.
I only have I guess I just have to go and stand in front of Walgreens with the sign "Jesus loves you," right?
Yeah,
free
there you
hugs,
go.
Or maybe free high fives with the hand sanitizer.
Elbows.
There you go.
So that's what we're going to be doing this Sunday. We're going to be doing our door hangers. Then we have our launch team meeting at the end of the week, at the end of the month. Gosh, I really hope in February we can start doing in-person stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to be realistic with COVID the way it is right now.
True. I mean, the vaccines are coming.
We're number one, so.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, well, just be praying with us as we are going through this whole church planning transition in the midst of a pandemic. But, God, what I'm realizing time and time again, is that God provides.
Yeah.
The Come and See event wasn't what we wanted it to be. We wanted to be in person. We wanted to share a meal.
Yeah.
Man, that was so good. I think we had more outreach in this first Come and See event than we would have had in person.
Yeah, probably.
No way. Well, not even short term, but long term.
Yeah.
The Come and See event, you get 30 people come in. It's great. But we had 50 at least. And then every person that goes to click it after wouldn't have shown up the night of.
Yeah.
But they'll get to know and they'll get to see. And, there's my heart breaks because I just want to be together with people. I just want to share life and have community, and I cannot wait for those moments to happen again. So, like I said, be praying with us. We're praying for you. Actually, this morning when I was getting all the stuff ready, I just kind of prayed for people who are planting churches. So I prayed for you. And so God will provide. He is faithful. And 2021, it's already looking to be a good year. If I'm 100% honest with you guys, I'm a lot happier right now. I have joy that I did not expect to have in the middle of all of this, not having a job, trying to find one, planting a church, pandemic, raising a toddler who his teeth are coming in, so it's been really rough the last couple nights. But
I think things are working out in God's timing. Unfortunately, that means that our planning is a little bit harder. And we'll talk in the weeks ahead about we're planning on doing this event at the park and what that's going to look like.
Yeah.
I think already we're probably going to have to tone it down from what we originally wanted to do, but we want to make sure that people stay safe, and we want people to know us by our love, right? Yeah. We want to be people who God speaks through by our actions and by our words.
Absolutely.
And then, we have a retreat coming up. We're going to do a retreat. So
one of the things, we're kind of keeping it still a secret. Yeah. We're taking, it's actually things that I love, camps and retreats. I'm excited because we get to go on this prayer retreat, this prayer planning retreat again. I think we were doing them almost quarterly at this point with our core team. We're going up to Pine Rock, where I met my wife in 2004. It's a long time ago. We were kids. But we get to go up and relax and enjoy each other's company. And just, be able to really soak in. I'm excited because every time we have core team, we do house church. We do church. Mm-hmm. And so it's just like we get it and we're like, man, this is it. I want this. I want this every week. Yeah. And it gets us excited and motivated. I'm kind of looking at the future after we launch. Mm-hmm. I want to design like an all-church retreat. Yeah. We all head up to Pine Rock together. And we get to do this time of, it's a couple days where we get to connect with one another. Because that's the difficulty, which we can talk about in a future episode, that how can we design this multi-church model and yet every person be connected, right? Yeah. We'll talk through that another time. But, God is doing some big things. Yeah. We are not even close to being done. In fact, we are just getting started. Yeah. I want to look back next January, Ryan. Yeah. Kind of reviewing some of these episodes of and see where we're at. Have we hit some goals? Have we exceeded them? Yeah, man. Are we having to remodel everything because they're just not working? Yeah. I don't think that, but. No,
I'm laughing because I'm just like, I hate watching or listening to myself. I think that would be a good idea as well. And I think we're going to be pleasantly surprised in the ways that, God's going to show up in ways that we don't even know right now. I think we've been talking for a long time. So.
If you're still here, we appreciate you.
Yeah. We, by all means, people can leave a message on the Anchor app. Yep. We had Oscar who left a message last week. Once again, they can tweet us. Yeah. They can
DM us on Instagram or Facebook.
Comment on YouTube.
Yep. We got one comment this week, and it was not a good one, so we deleted that. Or I think actually YouTube deleted it. It's one of those spam ones. Don't worry about it. But there's so many ways that you can get connected with us through all of our social media platforms, even onto our website. Yeah. If you go to thetablenaz.church/support, there's a way that you can join our team. You can join the prayer squad. That's not what it's called, but that's what I'm calling it right now.
New name.
That's right. But there's just so many ways that you can be a part of this. And if you have questions, comments, concerns, if you'd just like to get connected with us, actually just this week, there's a guy, I cannot remember his name. Give me like 2 seconds, I will find it. He's from Ireland, and he's doing church plant with his spouse and family out there. Michael, he is doing church out in Ireland, and so him and I connected a little bit. He'd actually messaged me a long time ago, and I just was so busy before. Now that I'm kind of free and have some time, I was able to finally get connected. But just hit us up. You can also talk to Ryan and I personally. My email is pastortrevorc@gmail.com.
Or just email the table.
This is true. That's probably easier.
The Table House
Church at gmail.com. I would just forward all the emails to Ryan anyway, so don't.
We both check that, so.
It's true. It's true.
So call us, email us, carrier pigeon, smoke signals.
However you want to do it.
I don't know Morse code.
I'm not, there's a way you can do. There's an app that translates. But our phone number. That's the wrong phone number. It is 480.
788-3525, I believe.
Did you memorize that already?
I had to use it for something today.
480-788-3525.
Yep.
That is our new church phone number. Thanks to Ryan hooking us up there. You can call us. We'll get that. We just want to stay connected. We want to hear your stories. We want to hear what God's doing. But we appreciate you guys listening, tuning in. I know this is a longer one.
God bless.
Yeah, absolutely. We thank you for listening, hanging out with us.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next time.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.